my honor to introduce two members of this class who have stood out with high academic distinction throughout their 4 years of high school. I would first like to call upon this year's valedictorian, Jonathan Wingens. Aside from Jonathan's impressive academic achievements, he is, at heart, a history buff. He says that he's passionate about the ideals laid down on the Constitution and the progress we as Americans continue to make. It comes as no surprise that throughout high school, Jonathan was active in the Current Events Club and served as a delegate on the mock trial and Model UN teams. These clubs have prepared him for a future of advocating for the rights of every citizen and what I can only assume is a 2016 presidential campaign. He's already off to a good start. He's written about current events in our school newspaper, The Flame, culminating in him serving as an editor-in-chief. He was named a National Merit Finalist. He sat on the Charitable Allocations Committee of the Iris Teens Tzedakah program, and he volunteered with the Friendship Circle, an organization that runs activities for local special needs children. Jonathan's passion for things he loves and finds important is matched by his incredible wit and his charming personality. I've had the privilege of watching Jonathan grow into a confident, poised young man throughout his time in high school, and I know that he will find continued success at Washington University in St. Louis this fall. Please welcome the class of 2015's valedictorian, Jonathan Wingens.
Thank you, Mr. Herskowitz, for that great introduction. You've always been a quality opening act. Horim, chaverim, morim, ובמיוחד חבריי, החברים שלי לכיתה, שממש עתה הפכו לבוגרי בית ספר גולדה, השכבה של שנת 2015. Parents, friends, siblings, faculty, Rabbi Dr. Rayner, Mr. Shapiro, and most especially, my friends, my classmates, ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time for the newly minted alumni of Gold Oak Academy, the class of 2015. Before I begin, I'd just like to nip something in the bud. Some of you may feel like this speech is slightly cliche, and that's fine, but I'll have you know I wouldn't be trite enough to touch a cliche with a 10-foot pole. Because at this fork in the road, I choose to take a path less traveled. All right, enough of that. Onwards and upwards. The year was 2002. 5-year-old John had just taken his first tentative step toward joining the Solomon Schechter class of 2015 by submitting to a kindergarten admissions screening evaluation. It did not go as well as his parents might have hoped. Some of the more memorable quotes from the write-up include, Jonathan had difficulty separating from his father. Jonathan was reluctant to engage in conversation at first, and so on. 13 years later, much to the chagrin of that school psychologist, here I am. Which leads me to my first piece of advice. Never trust the professionals. Back in those early days, I went to Schechter for no reason other than the fact that my parents, well, actually my mother, or Noah Pearlstein's mother, or Noah Shapiro's mother, dropped me off on Gregory Avenue or Pleasant Valley Way every morning at 8. And don't get me wrong, I have always loved this school. But for a long time, I wondered why. Why do I have to sit through 7.5 hours of school when my public school friends, who totally exist by the way, are getting out at 2 every day? Why spend so much time studying Jewish texts when clearly my hours would have been better spent doing yet another fantasy football draft? And I asked myself the same question that every neshamanik grappled with at least once on their journey. Why not an obelisk? 3 months ago, we wandered into some little shul in Krakow for our first Shabbat of Neshama. We joined in somewhere in the middle of Shabbos morning Shacharit, and instinctively, each one of us grabbed a siddur, found a spot to sit, and started humming or singing along. Now, none of this struck me as unusual until about an hour into the service. I had stopped to think about where we were. We very easily could have been at an Orthodox shul on the Upper West Side, or a minyan in the heart of Jerusalem. But in reality, we were standing on soil soaked by the blood of our ancestors. In that moment, I understood that for far too long I had misinterpreted the role of this school in our lives. We don't take Hebrew and Judaics classes simply to learn what one rabbi says about kashrut and what another says about Shabbos. Rather, I realized that we learn these things so that we can carry our Judaism with us wherever we go. We learn these things because if my great-grandfather were to come back to life tomorrow, we would have almost nothing in common. But for 3 hours on a Shabbos morning, we could have a common language. Upon completing our walk around Treblinka, we gathered in a circle for a closing ceremony. After we heard a few testimonies and readings about the camp, we felt moved to sing the age-old words, Achenu kol beit Yisrael, hanetunim betzara ubashivya, ha'omdim ben bayam uben bayavasha, hamakom yarachem alehem v'yotzihem mitzara lirvacha, umefela le'ora, umishivud legeula, hashata bagala, ubizman kariv. And as those words, as for our brothers, the whole house of Israel, echoed through this now abandoned graveyard, I thought to myself, but for the randomness of time, this could have been any one of us. Above all else, we learn these things because they are an anchor to our past and a line to our future. They are personal and they are transcendent, they are local and they are global. They teach us that there is something larger than ourselves. That is what this school means to me. I can try to explain it to you, but it's impossible to convey the meaning of our time in Israel and Poland in words. Images fade. What things look like, you lose that. But the way they made you feel, that stays with you forever. So we must spend our lives trying to make ourselves and other people feel things. Now, as much as we learned collective lessons from what we saw in Poland and Israel, over the course of our time here, we have gathered just as much from each other. מהחוויות הקבוצתיות שלנו בפולין ובישראל למדנו דברים רבים. ובכל הזמן הזה, בעיקר למדנו זה מזה. Now, I invite you to come with me as we take a brief look back at our time here. In first grade, the girls taught the boys to run faster than we ever thought we could. In fifth, we learned that some of us are better singers than others, but at Schechter, everyone gets a solo. In ninth grade, we learned that chocolate is everybody's favorite candy. You thought that would die, but it never will. In 10th grade, we finally got fashionable, with the boys consistently outshining the girls with their classic and timeless STS shirt-tie-sweater look. Then, in the blink of an eye, senior year rolled around, and we finally understood that seniors have never actually been as old or as mature as we once thought they were. Our years at Schechter have undoubtedly had a profound effect on the people we've become, both as a group and as individuals. הזמן שלנו כתלמידים בבית הספר הזה ייצב את מי שאנחנו כקבוצה וכיחידים. וכמובן, כל זיכרון העבר לא יהיה שלם בלי זיכרון הימים הטובים בשימוש בספרי הלימוד של נטע. ללמוד בכיתה ג' איך לומר אבטיח, ללמוד בכיתה י"א איך לומר אבטיח, ואיך לומר אבטיח גם בנשמה. נטע תמיד חיזק את המושגים החשובים ביותר של השפה העברית. בבית משפט התווכחנו על נושאים כמו צמחנות וריהוט, ושרנו שירים על הרצון שלנו לישון. לאלו מכם שמבינים עברית, לא, האוצר המילים שלי הוא לא כל כך רע, אלא הם דברים שבאמת עשינו. I know that we have all come a long way since kindergarten admissions tests. We're writers, we're engineers, we're historians, we're dancers, singers, and artists. But what unites us all is what also can prove to be our most divisive feature, our passion. This grade will fight tooth and nail to get whatever it wants or believes is right. For example, let's say you were trying to design a great t-shirt or a neshama sweatshirt, things that are completely benign, seemingly. You might get about 40 different opinions, a dozen Facebook polls, and half a dozen long-winded rants. But the final product is always worth the difficult journey. And there's a piece of that previously touched upon admissions write-up that I forgot to mention. On challenging tasks, a young John commented, "This will be hard. but attempted the task and seemed pleased with his result, whatever that means. That line confirms for me that I am a perfect fit for this class. While we often hesitate to engage in certain things at first, once we let ourselves dive in, we have found our abundant passions and have excelled in all that we have done. For example, there might have been a little bit of complaining before Yom Liyam, our 5-day hike across Israel, but afterwards I heard it was really great. See, I wouldn't know, I was sick. It was terrible. Aside from hiking, we have found ourselves as presidents of new and old clubs within the school, as well as leaders outside of it. From record-breaking Olympic hopefuls to USY executives, to an unprecedented, unbelievable 4 presidents of CCC, we have, throughout our time here, found our individual and collective passion. We have always heeded the timeless creed, Im tirtzu, ein zo agada. If you will it, it is no dream. At every breaking point, at every fork in the road, at every border, we have found the energy and the drive to make ourselves go farther and work harder. But today is not an ending, it is merely a beginning. As we get older and the world continues to become more complex, new issues will arise, our beliefs will be challenged, and obstacles will appear seemingly out of nowhere. And when things seem too difficult, when they become uncertain or unclear, remember your time here. Remember the person you became here, and remember the passion you found here. Always know we are the protagonists of our own narrative. Your tale can be a mystery, a romance, it can be an action thriller, it can be a comedy. But none of that matters as long as you are the author, and always resist the urge to limit yourself to 140 characters. To the class of 2015, as we join the storied ranks of Golda Ach and Solomon Schechter alumni, we know that we are categorically not alone. With each new step, we take with us this school, the values it has taught us, and most decidedly, and perhaps most importantly, we take each other. My fellow graduates, although from this day and from this place we embark on our individual journeys, always know that we will be connected for the rest of our lives. Thank you for the last 13 years, and congratulations.